Okay, so let's set the scene. The date is December 20th, 2025, and right now, the Philippines online world is basically telling two completely opposite stories at the exact same time. On one side, you've got this massive nationwide celebration, and on the other, a really serious national crisis that's unfolding. So let's break down what's really going on.
On the surface, everything looks festive. I mean, the entire country is in the middle of that famous Christmas rush. You've got carols playing everywhere, Christmas lights on pretty much every building. That holiday spirit is just palpable. It really is a season of pure celebration.
But here's the thing. If you actually scroll past all those festive photos and the jokes about holiday traffic, you'll find a much, much darker story trending right alongside it all. So the real question is, what's hiding just beneath all that celebratory noise? And this really is the perfect picture of what you could call a nation's split-screen reality. You've got this stark contrast between this huge public party and some deeply unsettling national news, all happening at the very same moment. Think about it like this. On one side of your screen, you have these serious, somber headlines about a huge investigation that has literally everybody talking. And on the other side, just an explosion of joy, of music, of culture. What's trending today shows that these two parallel worlds aren't just coexisting, they are actively competing for our attention. All right, let's start in the shadows. Let's talk about the unsettling headlines that have really gripped the public, stirring up a mix of total shock and a whole lot of suspicion. First up is the really tragic and very mysterious case of the former Department of Public Works and Highways Undersecretary CATHY Cabral. Her name has been one of the top search terms for days now, and we've just found out the absolutely devastating reason why. So, why is everyone so focused on this? Well, a lot of it stems from her connection to a really controversial 15 billion peso flood control project. I mean, a number that big is, of course, fueling tons of online speculation about what exactly happened to her. And then, the news that everyone was dreading finally dropped. The Department of the Interior and Local Government, the DILG, released this official statement. It confirmed that human remains discovered up in Benguet were, in fact, hers. And just like that, widespread concern turned into national mourning and a huge demand for answers.
Now, at the very same time, another major international headline suddenly became a very local story. The Bondi Beach shooters, that's the term for the suspects in a huge incident over in Sydney, were suddenly found to have a startling direct link to the Philippines.
Police investigators started to reveal this shocking timeline. Turns out one of the suspects didn't just pass through the country. No, they spent a full month down in Mindanao. And get this, they were even tracked to a gun store in Davao City. As you can imagine, the second that news broke, online searches for things like Mindanao tar links just exploded, connecting a tragedy from halfway around the world directly to home. Okay, now get ready for a complete tonal shift. Seriously, we're moving from the crisis to the celebration, because on the other side of the nation's social media feed, the mood could not possibly be more different. Because here's the wild part. Despite how serious those headlines were, the single biggest trending topic in the entire country had nothing to do with crime or controversy. Nope, it was pure, unfiltered, explosive joy. And it was all centered on a massive celebration of Filipino music. And all of that online buzz, all of that celebration was focused on one gigantic event, the annual Christmas concert at the University of Santo Tomas, which everyone knows as Pascuan. This one concert absolutely, completely dominated the country's digital world. So why did this one event go so incredibly viral? Well, for starters, you had tens of thousands of people packed onto the campus. The lineup was insane, headlined by the P-pop queens themselves, Beanie, and also featuring the iconic band Ben & Ben. You throw in some spectacular fireworks and bam, you've got the #1 non-news trend across both Twitter and TikTok. And this gives you a sense of the sheer scale of what the authorities were dealing with. While you have tens of thousands of people celebrating at Pascuhan, you also have a force of over 70,000 police officers deployed across the country for the peak of the Christmas rush. It's just a massive, massive logistical balancing act. Now, whenever you have so many high-stakes stories trending all at once, you know what happens next.
misinformation. It just spreads like wildfire. So how are people and the officials trying to separate the facts from all the fiction?
So let's go back to the Cabral case. The viral claim, the rumor that's flying around on TikTok and Facebook, is that she was assassinated, that she was silenced because of that flood control project. But the official status from the DILG is that the investigation is very much active and they have not released a final cause of death. So for now, that assassination theory remains pure speculation.
And what about that Bondi shooter connection? Well, misleading posts started popping up, framing Mindanao as some kind of terror training ground. This narrative spread so fast that it actually required a direct response from the very top. President Marcos Jr. himself came out and publicly debunked the claims, calling them unfounded and just plain misleading.
So, okay, we've looked at the crime, the concert, the facts, and the rumors. When you put it all together, what should you really take away from this 24-hour snapshot of the country's collective mind? You know, it all really boils down to this. This split-screen feed we're seeing. This is what it looks like when a society is processing grief and joy at the exact same time in our digital age. It's the ability to mourn a national tragedy in one browser tab while you're celebrating a massive cultural moment in another. It's complex, it's messy, and honestly, it's the reality that we're all living in now. And that leaves us with one final thought to chew on. Go ahead, take a look at your own social media feed right now. What stories are sitting right there, side by side? And what does that mix of tragedy, celebration, news, and just pure noise, what does it really say about the world that we're all sharing?